Hi, my name is Cindy Rang, and I'm the owner of the Fabric Patch in Ephrata, Washington. Our website is www.fabricpatch.net, and I'm going to talk to you today about Fusible Applique. Fusible Applique is super simple. It's basically just turning your fabric into an iron-on patch. So it gives you just so much freedom to be able to make any design that you want. This one is a Kimberbell pattern, super cute, and basically all you're doing is tracing out your pattern onto the Fusible Applique, cutting it out, and then ironing it down. So there's just our separate little pieces for our tree and then all of these ornaments. Just a darling thing that is so simple to do. This one right here, this is one of our own snowman patterns, and if you go to our website, if you go to shop online, look for shop label patterns. Brianna and I have, I don't know, maybe about 50 patterns, different ones in different styles and different things, and this is one of them. It's just a really cute table runner, all done by Fusible Applique. Before I show you the Fusible Applique technique, I just want to talk to you just for a second about this, and I want you to notice that the snowman is actually made out of batting. This is just a piece of polyester batting. It's nice and white. It's going to launder really well. It fuses perfectly. And when it's fusing down on top of something, it doesn't show through. You know what I mean? If you sometimes pick a white fabric, you can see through from the background. And what's nice about this, there's no see-through, and it really looks like snowman texture. So when you have some different projects, maybe think about that. It actually lasts really well. I'm not so sure that it's going to last as well through 100 hard washings, but for a table runner, we've washed this several times and it looks fantastic. I mean, it's going to hold up really well because it's what's in the center of your quilt. And then of course we've just done a flannel scarf, and we have kits for this also on our website. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Fusible Applique. So Fusible Web is just the name of the product. There's lots of different brands of Fusible Web, so find the one that you like the best. I do like Steam-A-Seam too. I like it because there's two pieces of paper. There's a paper on both sides, and one side usually has a little grid. So this is the regular original Steam-A-Seam 2, and this is Steam-A-Seam 2 Light. The only difference is the thickness of it, because sometimes when you're doing something, and again, just to refer back to this, where you've got layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of things that are fused down, you might find that it feels a little bit stiff, and that's because you've got so many layers on there. So if you're going to do that, you might want to consider the light, and that's just going to give you a little less of that feeling. All right, so pick the Fusible Web product that you like, and then you find your pattern. And then all you have to do with your pattern is you're going to go ahead, I just have a little piece here, is you're going to lay this over the top of whatever it is that you're going to trace, and you just use your pencil, and you're just going to go ahead and trace your pattern. And maybe you're going to do 3 or 4 of them because you're going to do all of them the same time on the fabrics. I have to put my glasses on for this. You do want to use pencil because this stuff has kind of a plastic coating on it, and what will happen is ink will kind of skip on there. If you have several pieces here and you're using a bunch of them, I would probably number things. So I might say this is 1, and on my pattern I would write this is 1. This one here was 2, and I would write here this one is 2. I think this one was 3. That way, if it matters to you that when you go to put all of these things on, you'll know which ones went where. Then you go ahead and you grab your fabric, and so this is, here's your fabric. You're going to pick the wrong side of that fabric, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the excess, just because there's no sense in wasting everything. And then you're just going to go ahead and peel this paper off. When you peel this paper off, what will happen is you'll see that that product is going to be on one side or the other. Just with your finger, go ahead and make sure that it's on the side that you've written the pattern on. Does that make sense? I mean, if you look in here, you'll see that's the fusible product itself. So it could end up on that side of the paper or on that side of the paper. So obviously, you want to be able to pull this off and put this on the wrong side of your paper. Because otherwise, if you pull this off and just put the paper on there, nothing is going to happen, right? Because there's nothing on there. All right, so this is on the wrong side, and then you're just going to go ahead and heat it. And it's important for you to iron it down before you cut your pieces out, because then what's going to happen, uh-oh, we have little Wyatt with us today, and he's 2 months old, and that's who's cooing or dreaming. I'm not sure what's happening. And then you're going to cut out right on the line. And after you've cut out right on the line, then what happens is that fusible web has kind of, fused those little fabrics together. So you end up, you make sure that you don't have that funny little frayed edge. So then all you have to do then is unpeel this. And then you go ahead and you stick this down on your fabric. And when you stick it down on your fabric, I'm not actually going to do it with this because I have a different technique, but when you stick it down there, then you're going to go ahead and iron it in place. And you're essentially done. You do have to stitch around it. The reason you have to stitch it down is because this way, once it's been ironed down, it's only going to last for about 3 washings, and then it's going to start to lift up. So it isn't really permanent. If you're just going to do something that you're not washing, you don't have to worry about it. But if you are going to wash it, you do want to stitch around it. And sometimes what I'll do, I'll wait until I'm doing the quilting process, and then I just go ahead and get it with my long arm. Now I want to show you one other thing before we go too far, or before we finish, and that is how to do something that's reversed. So let's look at this handle for a second. If you take this handle, and we go ahead and lay this out and we trace this handle. So again, here's our pencil because that's what we want to use. If we put this way onto the back of our fabric and we cut it out, what's going to happen is the handle, right, it's going to be on the back of the fabric, it's going to be backwards. Where it's going to look like this. It's not going to look right? So you have to reverse it. So sometimes what will happen, if somebody has given you a pattern that is specifically for Fusible Applique, they'll say the pattern has been reversed. If they haven't done it, you need to do that. That's why I like the double-sided, the double paper one. Because then I'm going to go ahead and take my marker, and this is the only marker that I use. We have another video on our website about things that are in my little notions tote. I don't use a permanent marker because I don't think a permanent marker should be anywhere near your fabric, but this is actually a fabric marker. It has a bold tip and a fine tip. So if you're going to use it for labels or for something, it's smear-proof, smudge-proof, waterproof. What'll happen is I've traced this. Now if I flip that over, do you see where you can go ahead and see that pattern through there? So this is essentially just reversing it. And again, that's why I like the 2 layers of paper. So now I know this one is the right side, so I'm going to take this, peel this off, and again, I'm just going to make sure that that fusible web product is on the side that I want, which is going to be over on that side. Take that piece off, find my little piece of fabric, put that on there, and heat that. And then, of course, then when I cut it out, and I just want to talk to you again about these scissors. These are the Karen K. Buckley's. These are serrated scissors, so they're easy to cut. They also have a Teflon blade, which means that there's not going to be a lot of residue buildup from Fusible Applique. But if you do end up with a little bit of residue, the easiest thing to do to clean your blades, whether it's from the fusible web or if it's just because of using freezer paper, just take a piece of wool, just a leftover piece of wool from your wool applique, and you can clean your scissors with that. Our knife sharpener friend told me that nice scissors are not dulled by the act of cutting paper, but rather by the little bits of the little paper pulp that's stuck to your blade. So as long as you keep your blade clean, it's okay to go ahead and do that. All right, so we've cut this out. Now what's happened, since we've reversed that, you can see that that's exactly, it goes the correct decision, or the correct direction. That way, when it's time to go ahead and fuse that down, we don't have something that's a little bit backwards. One last thing that I want to mention that sometimes will come up, you could be that you have a pattern that you're using and you can't really see it when you're laying this down and you're tracing things. Maybe for some reason you're using a product that isn't as easy to see through, or maybe the paper is a little bit darker, or there's some other reason that you feel like you need a light box. You, of course, can go ahead and tape this into a window if you don't need a light box, but I just want to show you one other little trick. Most of us have these little sewing machine tables by Dreamworld. These work great, and if you have a light, I always carry this one. This is the little yo-yo, and so this is my little light. So all you have to do is you just put this underneath, or any light, if you have a flashlight, whatever, just put this underneath and this is going to shine up, and then you have this instant light box so that you're able to see through. All right, I think that's it. I think that's it for my tips. Fusible Applique is just a super simple process, really easy to be able to make some really fun projects, and pretty quick also. Happy quilting.